welcome. My name is Andrew, and this is the Who Dat discussion, a New Orleans Saints podcast where we talk about all Saints news, opinions, and reactions. So, the Saints did play Sunday, and I think we should just get right into it, rip off the Band-Aid. So, we're just going to get right into it. So, the Saints lost Sunday in a 48-40 shootout and shocking upset against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Dome. I mean, just some quick notes. The defense gave up 529 yards, 41 points, and lost the turnover battle 2-0. The Saints are 0-5 in their last 5 openers as well. And then we've only made the playoffs once, in those 5 years, and that was last year. So, on the offense, just quick notes. Breeze played amazing, I would say. Over 400 yards. He had 3 TDs. Kamara also had 3 TDs, 2 rushing, 1 receiving. Mike Thomas played great. He set the Saints single game receptions. And, I mean, just looking at it, the offense played really good. Defense played really bad. These are the types of games we played, in 2000, between 2014 and 2016. These are the type of games that we played. And, to me, just like Sean Payton said, that does not suit us. So I think we should just get right into it. We'll go with the negatives first. That's really the defense first. First we'll talk about, basically break it down, all the negatives, say how we can fix them. And then after that, we'll kind of transition into some positives we had. But, I mean, it was just a shocking loss, upset loss, kind of a gimme game that we kind of needed. We'll get into that a little later. But, first let's just start off with the defense. And we're just going to go from the D-line, linebackers, and DBs. So first we'll start off with the D-line. And, they played awful today. I mean, there's nothing else you can say that's going to, sugarcoat it. I mean, to me, Cam Jordan, he played all right. He got a couple of hurries, but nothing special, not up to the, level that he plays on. I mean, to me, Okafor, he played the worst out of him. I mean, I know everyone's, trashing on Onyemata, who he played really bad as well. Tyler Davidson was gassed. But Okafor, he was coming in last year fast. He looked more lean, got to the quarterback much easier. This year, he looked slow, he looked unconditioned, and also maybe he looked a little out of shape as well. So I don't know if that's because of the injury or whatever. He just did not look ready to play. Marcus Davenport, who they kind of, he didn't play a lot in the first quarter. Second quarter, they tried to insert him, give the defense some other looks, and he had 1 hit on the QB that was a flag, roughing the passer, which I don't think was roughing the passer, but, it's just, you're looking at it, and this team, especially this group, for the D linemen, they just did not play well. They got 0 pressure, which I think was a stemming problem for the defense. If we don't get pressure, we're asking our back end to do a lot more, which they couldn't do today either. So I think, just looking at it, I mean, the defensive line got no pressure. Number one, they were gassed also. You looked at Tyler Davidson, who was about the second drive, was huffing and puffing, and you just can't have that. That means, we weren't coached up to be ready, which I'll get into coaching a little later as well. I mean, this group just played extremely poor, and you just look at it, we couldn't get pressure, and it's not like, we couldn't get pressure, but at least we were containing the QB. We let Ryan Fitzpatrick run all over us. We had no contain on him as well, so that's going to be a problem, especially when we play next week. We play Tyrod Taylor, who was a huge running QB, so if we can't contain Ryan Fitzpatrick, what makes you believe that we can contain Tyrod? And look, I know it was a different, coordinator for them who was calling the plays, so maybe that's a little why Dennis Allen got, a little mixed up, because, he was just looked like, the Bucs were just 1 step ahead of him the whole game. And, that's just not what you want, especially a team that, we kind of needed this one. It was kind of a gimme game that, especially with our schedule down the stretch, you kind of needed to win this one, especially at home and everything. We just got completely outplayed and looked like we came out extremely flat, especially this defensive line, who, they got manhandled, physically outplayed, but just manhandled. And, how are you going to fix that? That just means your tenacity and practice is going to have to be higher. When you get outplayed like that by a lot, it wasn't just like, they just got, outplayed by a little. They got outplayed by a lot. And to me, they couldn't do anything right, really. And that's going to stem to the back defense. To me, our defense is kind of by 2 components. And that's, you're going to get pressure. And then our back end, especially Lattimore, it has to hold the one-on-ones. He's going to have to play really well. So that's a lot of pressure, I know, for the defensive line and for Lattimore in the back end, which we'll get to later. But that's, the kind of the formula how our defense is going to be, good. And to hope the offense stays on the field for a long time, which we'll also get on later. But, this defense, they have a couple of star players with, Lattimore, Cam Jordan, players like that. Demario Davis, I don't know if he's a star player, but he's definitely a very solid player. And I think he played one of the better players on defense. If there were any good players, I think he played pretty good. you just looked at it as they just were getting completely the offensive line. Give credit to Tampa, especially their offensive line, because they played really well. They gave Fitzpatrick, as much as Fitzpatrick played great, he had a clean pocket the whole game. And to most NFL QBs, when you give them a clear pocket, they're going to have an amazing game. So that's what I felt about the defensive line. And also, I think Trey Henderson got a couple sacks. He didn't do anything. So no one really who they plugged in there did really well. And then we're going to go to the linebackers. They're kind of like the next set of the defense, next group of the defense. And to me, Demario Davis, he played average. He had a tackle for loss, which was good. But, besides that, he didn't play, great. He's a sure tackler, which he showed. He had a couple of nice plays, there and there. But everyone else just was, they got beat. Not that they got beat badly on the run. To me, they contained the tight ends pretty well. I mean, it wasn't like amazing, wasn't like where we want to be. But compared to everyone else, I think that was fine. I mean, that's going to be another, for me, you got to fix, against the wide receivers and getting pressure before we fix, getting, tight ends blocked up and stuff like that. But just looking at it, it seems like they have Demario Davis and they have three guys that are battling for two spots. But it seems like none of them can start. Manti Te'o didn't play well. He had no splash plays where he plays in the run, which was not good. Anzalone did have some nice plays in the second half against the run, but against the pass, he was really not good. And that's what it seems like. They put these guys in. Anzalone wasn't supposed to start, and then he played a lot. It seems like he was starting. I thought the base group, I thought they reported that before the game was going to be Te'o, Klein, and Demario Davis, but it seemed like Anzalone played a lot in there. So I think that's just look, they got beat a lot. They didn't stop the run at all. They were letting the Peyton Barber, who played really good as well, break tackles really until like the fourth quarter, where we kind of knew they were going to run the ball. That's when we really kicked it in gear. I mean, we didn't give up a ton of running, especially Peyton Barber. He ended up with like 20 carries for 70 yards. That's not like amazing. So if we can do that again, I'll be fine with that. The problem was really the passing. We didn't stop anyone really. So, I mean, the linebackers, though I think they were the best group out of the three groups on our defense, that's not really saying much. I think they did make some nice plays, but they were not good against the run. So, on to the DBs, and, to me, you just look at it, and everyone was bad here. You cannot say one player that stand out, that at least play well. To me, actually, Patrick Robinson did play all right. He played pretty well in the slot. Didn't hear much of Humphreys. He just had a couple of screen passes. That's not on Robinson. But actually, slant plays in the slot, stuff like that, that was stopped really nicely. So give it off to Patrick Robinson, who actually played a pretty good game. Was average, at least. You can have him there. He kind of, what we expected from him, that's what he did. But everyone else, Lattimore had his worst game. Ken Crawley got beat a ton. Also, I mean, not as much Marcus Williams, who didn't play well either, but, our strong safeties played really, really bad. Probably maybe one of the worst games of their career. Definitely where Von Bell is definitely up there for one of the worst games of his career. But, you just look at it, and, I mean, just these guys, I mean, they were missing assignments, so the communication was a big issue, which could get fixed, and will get fixed over time, I think. But that's a huge issue, and it's got to be fixed for next week, because we need to win next week. So, your communication, when you have some plays, as some other people, other analysts were alluding to, is that, when you see Crawley running after the guy, it's not all Crawley's fault, because he did get burned a lot, but, he didn't give up 4 TDs because he was supposed to have help, and he got no help. So there's a big communication error there. From Bell played really bad. Coleman played really bad as well. I mean, when you see guys just running after him, especially like after the Deshaun Jackson play, you have Marcus Williams running after him. There was I think he went free basically into the end zone. I don't think he ever got touched. So just looking at that, and all the TDs, they got burnt. To me, the person that got burnt the worst and who played the worst, people are saying Lattimore. I'm going to say Crawley, just because Crawley played a worse receiver. Mike Evans is he's a Pro Bowl receiver. He's been there for a while. He's been really good, and Crawley, who played probably just as bad. If you're just looking at the results, he played a washed-up Deshaun Jackson. I'm not gonna no disrespect to Deshaun Jackson, because he's had an amazing career, but at this point in his career, he's just not what he used to be, and he completely whooped us. And you're just looking at it, and I think that you're just looking at it from between Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson. Between them, they just had big games. But, the plays with Mike Evans, I think those were much, worse for Lattimore, because it was just him and Evans, and Lattimore got beat on, jump balls, stuff like that. And it's nothing to say that Fitzpatrick, because he was throwing perfect balls there. And, some plays, there's not much you can do. But, the way that they were throwing ball down the field and they were connecting every single time. I think, when they threw the ball about 50 yards down the field, they're all their deep balls. I don't think there was any incompletes. I think they were all completions for touchdowns. So that's got to stop. And those are communication errors, and I think that you can fix those. But the physicality errors, losing the jump balls, stuff like that, getting outplayed physically and talent-wise, I think that's a problem. That's your problem, and you're going to have to fix that quick. Because, as much as, the Tampa Bay has a great receiving group, great skills group, the Browns have a pretty good skills group too. I mean, they have Landry, they have Gordon, they have, Hyde. So they have all those players. They have Nick Chubb out of the running back as well. To me, those players, they're going to be just as good as the Tampa Bay. So, this group, especially the skill players, to defend them, I think you're going to have to have a lot, more talent. I think you just have to get better really quick. To me, as much as you can get rid of the communication issues, and that maybe you don't give up 48 points, you give up like 30 points, which is not as bad, but still obviously bad. And then I think the talent wise maybe covers the rest. So if you're going to give up 28 points because of talent wise, we're not going to win many games that way either. So even if the communication gets better, which I think it will, you got to get better talent wise. I think because we came lax. Physicality is also a big reason. So even if I think the two easy fixes for this defense right now is going to be physicality and communication. We get those things finished, hopefully we're giving up, around like 27, 21 points. And then the talent, hopefully we bring that back to, giving up 17 again and stuff like that. But you just look at the defense. This was just not a good performance. I think everyone knows that. Ken Crawley said they played boo-boo. So, just looking at it, they did not play good. They knew they didn't play good. Cam Jordan sounded off on Twitter, kind of went on a little rant saying that we're going to be better. And I think they will work to get better this week. I think they're going to have a really nice week of practice. Sean Payton's going to push them this week. He's going to push them, especially physicality. I think that's going to be a big thing, and communication. I think those two things, Sean Payton will push them. Same with Dennis Allen. And I think that's where we're going to get better there. And I think this week, look, we're probably not going to I thought we'd give up 17 points a game. No, that's not happening. I think we're going to have to win shootouts probably for a couple more weeks. So I hope Breeze is ready to, pass the ball very well. So I think it's going to take some time to get this team better. Maybe, look, they can prove me wrong, but I'm not going to go up and this defense is going to be great again because I don't see it, right now from the way they played against, a backup QB. As much as Ryan Fitzpatrick played great and he's had some great moments in his career, it was a backup QB, and, I think we're going to have to fix that. To me, and also with the defense, the three units didn't click together. It looks like they were all separated. It wasn't really I feel like they weren't together. They weren't together as a team today. They kind of played personal. They didn't, especially with a lot of one-on-ones where there should have been no help. So I think that's a big communication error, and I think he really showed that, and it showed during the game. And, you're just looking at it from, I said the factors, before that we're going to need to get pressure, we need Lattimore needs to hold, and our defense would be successful. We got none of that today. And I think you're looking at it, I think Lattimore, he may have a sophomore slump. Now we got to talk about it because he didn't have the best preseason. Now he had a putrid game one, but now he's got to face Josh Gordon on Sunday. So, he needs to really shape up. He needs to play really good against Gordon, I feel like, and I feel like he has to put a lot of work in because he probably came in cocky, I'm defensive rookie of the year, I'm so great. No, that's not the way it works. You got to put more work because people, they watch your tape and they realize how they're going to beat you. No one's scared of you. Even Ryan Fitzpatrick said, I'm going to take my shots against Lattimore. He said that before the game, so maybe, Lattimore thought he was, the players were scared of him, quarterbacks were scared to throw at him. That's not the case either. So, he got humbled, and I hope he gets better because, he needs to against Gordon because Gordon's a great receiver. As much as off-field issues he has some great talent there. He probably won't face Landry a lot. Landry will be in the slot, which I'm kind of happy about because Patrick Robinson did play the best. I think he can defend and lock up Landry pretty well. And I think, maybe less than a 100-yard game there. But, the Browns are not a bad team. We'll get into them a little later. But I just think yesterday's game, the team just didn't, it didn't play flat. That's the word. They played completely flat. The defense played flat. We'll get into the offense, how they played amazing. But the defense came up flat. The offense came up, scored a touchdown right away. There should be a lot of energy. Nope, flat. They played completely flat. Coming out of halftime, they were flat. Coming out of, the big play with, when missed field goal, Breeze ran down the field, scored at the end of the game. They had a 3rd and 11. You're like, okay, we're going to stop them. You at least give Breeze 2 minutes to maybe come back and have a miracle, in the dome again like last year against the Washington? Nope, because they couldn't stop Fitzpatrick on 3rd and 11 running the ball. That's a problem. The way Fitzpatrick was running the ball, that should not happen because he's older QB, like 35 or 35 plus, however old he is, and he's run the ball like he's like Steve Young out there. You cannot have that. You're just looking at it here, and he can't even slide. He's like diving on the floor. It's like he's never ran the ball in his career, which he really hasn't. He's running read options in the red zone. He's peeling out, getting 5 yards, a rush. And then he picked up the big 3rd down at the end of the game. That's just, it's gotta get fixed quick, especially when we have an actual running QB coming in. And obviously it's going to be a little more preparation towards a running QB, which probably they had no preparation towards Ryan Fitzpatrick running the ball. But I think that's just what happened there. And I think the defense, can they get it fixed? Yes. And I think I wouldn't put the full panic button on here, but just looking at it, I don't think that this defense was. We thought it was going to be top 5. It's not top 5. As much as you want to say it's not top 10, right now it's 32nd. That's what we got to, those are the facts right now. So, you come up, you have a really good game, hopefully it's a turnaround. I actually compare this a lot to the Patriots game last year, and we turned it around and we had a great game against Cam and Carolina, who we only gave up 13 points the following week. So look, can we do that? Yeah, I think we could. There's a lot of things would have to be fixed, and probably a lot of errors for Cleveland for that to happen. It could happen. I think it's a possibility, but I think more of a possibility is that they're going to probably put at least more than 24 up, 21 up. I think, and then Brees is going to have to outscore them to get a victory. I think we're going to have to do that. Look, we'll look at fixed. I don't think we'll give up 40, 48 again. If we do that, we're going to be 0-2 because you can't ask Brees to go 50, or plus 40 plus twice. I think that's you can't have that happen. So he's going to have that. He's going to have to come in and play well. So I think that's enough with the negatives and how we're going to fix them. So I think they're fixable. I think communication and physicality, I think will get changed by, if not next week, week 3 in Atlanta, and they're going to have to change because Atlanta's a really good team. But, in looking at it, and then talent, I think will get better as the season goes on. But I think those two things will probably get fixed right away, and they're easy fixes. But I think, talent and getting basically outplayed talent-wise it's not an easy fix. Maybe it is for some players. But for some players, especially like Onyemata, who got frustrated, had some bad plays, roughing the passer, those cannot happen. So, and people called him the most nasty player on the team, but that's unexcusable. You just can't do what, he did. As much as I really feel like, Rankins didn't play that bad. I think he was actually the best out of the line. Him and Jordan were probably, okay. Rankins actually made some nice run stops as well. So I think they played well, but, Onyemata did not play well. Davidson looked just gas, as I said before. And then, and the other spot opposite Jordan didn't play well either. But I think whatever, going back to the defensive line. But, I feel like that group just didn't play. The whole group didn't play well. And I think it's mental issues, physical issues. We'll probably get the mental issues figured out quick. Even some of the physicality issues, I think in practice will get fixed as well. But now it's, that talent issues. And, I think those are going to have to get fixed down the stretch. So, on to, the offense. To me, the offense played great. You can't say you put up 40 points. They did play great. They would need a, perfect performance to win this game, and, it wasn't completely perfect, and that's why we lost, kind of. I think that's a reason, too. Brees, he did play perfect. I think he played absolutely perfect. Nothing else you really need him to do. He threw for over 400 yards, 3 TDs, and, he also had a, QB rating about 129.5, so basically a 130 QB rating, which is amazing. QBR was 93.4, which is great. He only got sacked once, so that's great for the O-line, which we'll get to. But, he looked amazing. He was throwing to a lot of, he had a lot of open plays, but he also had amazing throws, to Mike Thomas, Kamara, and he had some nice plays. Sometimes got flushed out of the pocket, threw a couple of nice plays to Kamara there. And to me, with Brees, he was efficient. And, he kind of took what the defense gave him. And then you got to do that. Again, they tried to stop the run with Kamara, which they kind of did well. But, in the second half, we couldn't run the ball anymore. Now it was time to, pass often. And I feel like he did that well. He hit Ben Watson a lot more. And the third down conversions were extremely better. Where you see in those 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, he was hitting, Mike Thomas. He was hitting Ben Watson. And I think that was really big. Especially, I think all of Ben Watson's catches, or at least 2, or at least half of them, I think, of his 4 catches went for first down. So that's really big. They're on 3rd down, so not just I think all 4 catches went for first downs, but on that 3rd down, that was really big as well. He kind of had, obviously Mike Thomas was the go-to with Kamara. They were both go-to players. Ted Ginn played a really good game as well, and I think going to the skill position players, Kamara played really good. He had the 2 TDs. He only had 8 carries. He only ran the ball for 30 yards, but he was really good with the getting in the goal line. He was really good there. He was efficient. And And then receiving, he had 9 catches for over 100 yards and a TD as well. So he played really good there. I mean, he was, the reason I think partly this offense wasn't perfect is because they actually took out Kamara. They put in Gillislee instead, and, he fumbled the ball, and I think, Sean Payton was trying to be a little cute, and, it came out that, it kind of lost us the game. It kind of, because a fumble return for a touchdown, that's 7 points. We don't know how the game went after that, but, I think that helped cost the game. So I think preserving Kamara was actually one of, Peyton's bad moves here. And sometimes you just got to let him roam free and play free, and I think he did that there. And then Mike Thomas was amazing. You can't say anything bad about him. He had 16 catches, 180 yards, and a TD. That's what you want to see. Ted Ginn also played really good with 5 catches, 70 yards, and a TD. That's also what you want to see. Also Ben Watson, him and Austin Carr also were contributors. They ran some nice routes. That was really good. The fumbles were obviously the problem here. Mike Thomas had a fumble just trying to do too much. To me, I mean, look, you're down by so much. What are you really going to do? You're going to try to do a little more, and it cost the fumble. That's really big, though, because we're in the red zone when it happened, or at least going to get a field goal, and then, and that's 3 points at least there, and then Gillislee, with his fumble to return for a touchdown, that's a 10-point swing. You put 10 points in our favor, we won the game. As much as bad the defense plays, you take all the other stuff out of it. Just like Bree said, he was not going to fault the defense. He rarely says, and, he's going to point fingers. He will never do that. It's not even like rare. He will never do that. He pointed to the offensive flaws, which the 2 fumbles were really big with this offense. You take those plays out, we're going to win the game, probably. I mean, no, you don't want to say we're going to win the game. It's going to give us a chance to win the game, and I think that's, as bad as the defense plays, you take those 2 plays out, it would give us a shot. Gillislee, him being in, to me, he's got to be cut. He's got to be cut in the next 2 days, and you got to bring up Boston Scott, because Boston Scott can at least do good as this. I mean, I know that in looking at him in preseason, looking at his draft tape, he can be good. He can be a very solid running back in relief of Ingram. When he comes back, Ingram, I think whatever he goes back to the practice squad or whatever it is, I think Scott can do better than Gillislee, because to me, Gillislee right now on this roster is useless. He's not a good special teams player like Boston Scott is, and he's not running the ball well. I mean, he had 1 good rush for like 5 yards, but he's just not a fast runner. It's like he's running in slow mo compared to Ingram or Kamara. So I think he's got to go. And then, looking at, really the other running backs, Williams only had a couple of carries. And, maybe if the game went on and it was a close game, he would have got more. But I think that's just the way it is. And the O-line, they played great. First it shows that, they can do good without Andrews Pete. Josh Laribas can fill in there really nicely because he played really good. To me, Taron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk played really, really, really good. Just looking at some runs, some pass plays, they played really good up there. The interior, Larry Walford did have a false start. Besides that, they played really good. So really a very good performance there, a solid performance. And I think it's look, if you pull that, if the offense does this every week, we will win many weeks. And I think this is the week we didn't win it, but I think if offense does this, we'll win a lot. So we look, just the coaching, I think that's kind of where we faulted the most, because our team was just not ready to play. You just look at it, Sean Payton, he's got to do a better job to make this team not come out flat against the team you need to win against. And I think that he didn't do that. I think he's made that mistake, and he won't make it again. Same with Dennis Allen, who just looked, it looked like he was completely out-coached there. He was always the Tampa Bay, coordinators, and, Dirk Cutter was always a step ahead of, Allen. So I think that's just, things that I think they got to look in the mirror and say, we got to coach differently. And I think they will do that. Those are fixable problems. And I think next week you got to come out and, you got to do a lot better. So with all that said, I think it's time to get to some Who Dat Nation fan questions. So first, from Who Dat Fan 94123, and he actually asked this question on Saturday, which is kind of funny. But it's like he kind of had a crystal ball or something. He said, can you rate the Saints defense 1 to 10 on their performance in week 1? So obviously the defense was a big part of this game, and he actually asked this on Saturday, so I thought that was kind of funny. So I'm going to rate this defense, you got to give it 1 to 10, then you got to give it a negative 10. I think, looking at it, this defense played absolutely awful. I don't really want to go back into it, because we went in depth before, but, look, I'll just go into the factors real quick. Like, as I said before, the factors are Lattimore, locking down the number 1 receiver and getting pressure, and we did none of that. And I think that's just, that's, in simple reasons, that's why we lost. We tried to change schemes, Allen trying to change a little bit, but, it seemed like Kirk Cutter and their coordinators were just one step ahead of him. So, on to our second question, and it's from Saints Fan 1, and he said, so I see a lot of national media saying that we will win the Super Bowl. What do you think of this? So this is what I believe here. I'm not going to call it a jinx. This is not a jinx. But to me, the national media, they saw us and they saw basically our basic outline of our team, and they said, oh, this team looks great. They got Breeze, they got this, Kamara, they have a lot of stars. We'll just, pick them. It seems like a very solid pick. And, a lot of, I'm kind of in the believer that if the national media picks you, you're kind of in the whammy, because usually what they pick is not true. So I think that's what we're looking at here. And, we got cocky, I think, because of this. So I think it wasn't good, because we got cocky. We were like, oh, we're going to go to the Super Bowl. Everyone's picking us to go to the Super Bowl. And as much as these guys said they wouldn't get cocky, I think, subconsciously they did get cocky. And you just showed that they weren't fully prepared for this game, because it seemed like they were overconfident. And, when that happens, you make mistakes. You don't come in as hard. You don't play as physical. And that's going to bring losses. Now, look, if this comes out the whole year, we're going to pull this 2018 season and say this is a lot like 2014. And, look, if that happens, that's whatever it is there. That's not what I think this team is. I don't think that's what they're made of. I said this earlier, and I'll stick with it. They're not made of that. They're going to come back, and they're going to probably throw up a really nice game against Cleveland, and probably, really nice game in Atlanta. And then, if we're 2-1 at that situation, I should predict us to be 2-1. So then we're fine, in my opinion. But I think this shows a lot about, where we were coming into the season, how cocky we were. We obviously, as much as we looked good in practice, we obviously weren't doing the right things to be successful. And I think that will change this week. I think you got to look at the film Monday. You just play out. You do all the right things to prepare for Tuesday's practice. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday better be amazing practices. And coming in, to the weekend, you feel really confident going into this game and getting the win against a team that hasn't won since, December of 2016. So it's like basically almost 2 years since they haven't won a game, and the last time they won a road game was like 3 years ago. So if you want to be the team that loses to this team, it's embarrassing. It's completely embarrassing. You got to win this game. For not being embarrassed, and this is a must win because we lost game once. Coming in 1-1, I don't think it's the worst. And then if we beat Atlanta going into, which would be a huge win, who I actually had us losing to. So if we were 2-1, I had us 2-1. I don't think that's that big of a deal, and we kind of forget about the game one. But we'll see how the team responds. I think they'll respond well. So our third question is from Domegoer9, and he said, what do you think our division record will be? Excuse me. And I said, I think coming into the year it was 4-2, and I'm gonna actually stick with 4-2 here. I said 4-2, 5-1, and I'll stick with 4-2. Because I think we'll probably, look, if we win against Atlanta, I think we could sweep Atlanta, and I think maybe we would split against Carolina. So I think we'll probably split against 2 and sweep 1. That's why I feel 4-2 is a good record for us to be at. Now, will it happen? I guess we'll see. I could see a lot of fans, after yesterday's game saying we're going to go 3-3. We're going to split all 3. I could see that happening too, but I just don't see it. I think we're going to sweep one of these division teams, and I feel like, if it's Carolina, that's what it was last year. It could be Atlanta. And obviously it can't be the Bucs anymore, but I think now you just got to go up and you're going to have to win this home game. So now, our one loss is out of the way, because we can't really lose another home game. So the way it's really going to be, maybe we can go 6-2. That means we got to go 6-2 on the road then, or you got to go 5-3 to get to 11-5 record, which I think is possible. But I think this is our loss. Now we're going to have to run off at least. We're going to have to win at least 6 games at home here. I think if we're going 5-3, I think that's a possibility on the road. So but we got to we got to go 7-1 now. I think that was the record I wanted to be at home, and we already lost that game right away, and that's kind of upsetting. But there's still 15 games left. I'm not writing this off. We're not done yet. As much as if you come back at me at week 4 and we are 2-2, and I would say look, you're obviously not looking at the same team as we thought, but 2-2 is not the worst record. I don't think we're at it. But if we're 0-4, 1-3, then I think we're probably done there. And, maybe we're not done completely, obviously bearing a big turnaround, but I think 90% this team's, done. If we come out, we win the next 3 games, I say, we're right back. We're Super Bowl contenders. That's the way it's going to be. So I think it's kind of, we're going to see how this team goes, but I think our division record, if we're going to win, and that's what I feel like we're going to do, I still believe that. I think 4-2 is a good record. So with all that said, I think it's time to wrap up this podcast. So if you like this episode, you like other episodes, you could follow us on Twitter at @WhoDatDis. You can follow us on Instagram at @WhoDatDiscussion. And now we have Facebook, so if you're on Facebook and you like the social media platform of Facebook, we're on there at the Who Dat Discussion as well. Please there, give us likes. You could share us. That's just really helpful growing that platform. To the way our Twitter is, or even our Instagram, which is smaller than our Twitter, but it's still it's growing. Everything's growing here. We're still a very young podcast. This is episode 15. I can't believe it's been really quick. But, it is episode 15. Now the season's underway. I know we did start 0-1, but, I think we're going to get better here. Going into Cleveland, I think we're going to have, I think we're going to have a better, chance of winning. We'll talk about much more of that, when we play Cleveland and on Friday when we preview it. But, I just think that, basically coming in, I think we're going to get a couple of defensive things fixed, and I think our offense is going to play just as good as it did. I mean, obviously probably not put up 40, but I think it'll probably put up 30 plus, and I think that's going to get us a win there. And Cleveland hasn't won in a really long time, so I don't want to be the team that loses to them first. But anyways, you could also subscribe to us on YouTube at The Who Dat Discussion. You could also subscribe to us on Google Play and iTunes at The Who Dat Discussion as well if you use those platforms. So, and on Podomatic, we are also at The Who Dat Discussion. You can follow us on there. Please, on all these platforms, please like, comment, give us reviews. That just really helps us, expand the podcast and really show what we're doing right, wrong. So it's just, it's really nice. We're actually getting a lot of comments of late, so I think that's really, nice. It's actually really good to, connect with you guys in the Who Dat Nation. That's why we created this podcast, as I say, like once a week. So I think, coming in, I know it was a tough week, tough game, but, we're going to move past it, and, we're going to get the win. So next week, hopefully. So we'll be back Friday to preview the Saints and Cleveland. And, if there are any Saints news in between, we'll get that too. So with all that said, I want to say thank you, prove 'em right, and Who Dat?